Okay, so we are labeling our lines for the Pacific Rim sketch map. Our horizontal line is going to be the equator. So that's going to run through the middle of the map. Now our vertical lines are going to be kind of confusing. So we know that the lines of longitude, which is our vertical lines, usually start from the prime meridian, which is 0 degrees, right? And it runs through Africa and England, okay? But today we're going to be drawing on the other side of the world. So this solid line down the middle is on the opposite side of the world from the prime meridian, and the degrees are 180. Oh, you can't see that. It's 180 degrees, and this is known as the prime. Oh no, sorry. This is the international date line. The international date line. Okay, so this is just on the opposite side of the world from the prime meridian. It's the same line, it's just on the other side of the world, and it runs through the Pacific Ocean, because today the Pacific Ocean is going to be right in the middle of our map. Most of the time you see the Pacific Ocean like split on the sides of a map, like on the right side and on the left side of a map, but today it's going to be right in the middle. And it is a very big ocean, okay? So when we're labeling our other dotted lines, it's going to feel weird how we're going to write this down, but the line on the right side of our paper is going to be 120 degrees west, because this is where we're going to draw United States and Canada. And if you think about from the prime meridian, that's where we start our lines of longitude. And if you start from the prime meridian and you work your way left from the prime meridian, that puts us in the western hemisphere, which is where the US and Canada are. So today on our paper, US and Canada is going to be on the right side of our paper. And so the lines of longitude are going to be in the middle of 120 degrees west, okay? On the other side, we have 120 degrees east, okay? This is where we're going to draw Russia and China and Asia and Australia, okay? So most of the time we see this on the right side of our map, but today, again, we're drawing on the opposite side of the world. And so if you were to start from the prime meridian and work your way to the right or to the eastern hemisphere, it would typically be on the right-hand side. But today it's backwards because the Pacific Ocean is in the middle of our map, okay? So we're also going to draw our compass rose down here in the bottom, because everything is still normal, okay? The top of our page is north. The right-hand side of our page is the east. The bottom side is towards the south. And then the left-hand side of our paper is still considered west, okay? So if you're to see a question that says, oh, what country is to the north of so-and-so, you would start in that country and then look at the top of it, because that would be to the north, okay? So we are going to start by drawing the U.S. and Canada, because I think that that's probably the easiest for us here, okay? So we're going to be working in this top quadrant. The U.S. doesn't even come close to touching the equator, so we're going to shove everything up in this top right-hand quarter here, okay? And we're going to go, here's my California. Texas is going to dip. Florida is going to dip. And then here's the East Coast. And we'll come across here. We have some Great Lakes, Michigan, and up, okay? Here's our U.S. You know what that looks like. So then let's do Canada. Canada is really going to go to the right, the whole right-hand side of your paper and come up. Okay, It's going to dip. That'll be the Hudson Bay. We'll come back and label it later. It's really just going to go all across the top of your paper. It's going to come out a little bit and make a straight line there. This is Canada. Okay? Now, the straight line that we drew touches another U.S. state, which is Alaska. So Alaska is going to come pretty close to this international date line over here, okay, and come down about like that, okay? This is, Alaska. This is just a state. I'm going to put the U.S. in parentheses so that you know that it's a part of the U.S., okay? And then our last state that's not a part of the continental U.S. is Hawaii. And Hawaii is further south than Texas and Florida over there. And it's way out here in the ocean. All these little bitty islands right here. This is Hawaii. And again, it's a part of the U.S. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is go into our top left quadrant here, okay? Things are going to be a little squished over here, but that's okay. We have to draw in Russia. We're going to draw all of Russia in a following sketch map, but since Russia comes closest to touching Alaska up in the north, we are going to draw that because it does cross a little bit here, makes a weird little dip, and then kind of juts over, and it's really just going to go to the top of your paper up there. About halfway in between the lines, it's going to drop down here, and then kind of come back over. So this little peninsula here, there's two countries right here. We have North Korea to the north, in South Korea to the south of it, okay? So that's what that looks like. All right. We should finish by drawing the rest of China over here. It will go across the line, back over, about like that. Okay, and then to start back up from the top, over by North Korea, it loops around North Korea, comes across, and dips there. It's going to go all the way to the left side of your paper, basically. This is China. And that dip that we drew, this is another country, Mongolia. Then we need to draw Japan, which is over here by the Korean Peninsula. There's 3 parts to it. This is Japan. And then Taiwan is about right there. And those countries right there is what's going to make up East Asia, all of this right here. We can label Russia, but we'll do all of Russia later, okay? This is where we're going to get really small. I'm going to zoom in over here. We're going to do Southeast Asia, which is a lot of smaller countries. The first one that we're going to do is Vietnam. It's a long, skinny one. Vietnam. The next one is Cambodia, which is kind of like a circle that comes off right there. I'm going to zoom in so I can write Cambodia. And then Laos is going to be on top of it. Kind of looks like a broccoli a little bit. Laos. All right, I'm going to zoom back out a little bit here so you can see. We're going to draw Thailand next, and Thailand has this weird top, and then it comes almost down, has a weird leg, okay? This is Thailand. And then the last one is Myanmar, which touches Thailand and has a bulb at the top. Myanmar. Okay? The next thing we need to do is draw Malaysia. Malaysia is kind of a two-part country. It's divided into two pieces, really. The first piece kind of touches Thailand right there. And the other piece is a part of this bigger island right here, but the island itself is cut in half. Okay, so that northern part right there is Malaysia. Okay, so that's Malaysia. And then the bottom part of that island is a part of Indonesia. Indonesia has several pieces to it as well. I'm going to zoom out because it's going to kind of span a big piece here. So Indonesia is going to cross the equator. It's going to be close to Malaysia and cross the equator here. Has lots of little islands. It's going to cross at that intersection all the way over here to almost in the middle over here. Okay, and then there's a lot of like little islands in here. All of this is considered Indonesia. S-I-A. Okay, so all those little islands are Indonesia. The right half, or the eastern half of this island over here, is Papua New Guinea. P-A-P-U-A. New Guinea. G-U-I-N-E-A. Okay? And then there is the Philippines. The Philippines are south of Taiwan. There's a bunch of islands right here. This is all the Philippines. 1 L, 2 P's. And then the last part to Southeast Asia is a really small country. It's pretty much just a city, but it's on the tip of Malaysia here in this peninsula right there. It's really small. So if you zoom out, it's a very small country. I'm going to draw an arrow to it so you can see it, but this is Singapore. It's a very wealthy country. Okay, so it's on the very southern part of Malaysia. All right, and that right there makes Southeast Asia. The last part we have to draw is Oceania, and so this is going to include Australia, New Zealand, and some island chains. Don't worry, we're not going to draw all of the little bitty islands, but we are going to draw kind of where they belong. So in our bottom part of our map, how big does that go? Here we go. In our bottom part of the map, Australia, the tip of Australia is going to come pretty close to Papua New Guinea and that island that we just drew. It kind of has like a little point there and comes up and back around, slightly across and over, and then it's kind of round like that. Close enough. It has a little island there. This is Australia. And then New Zealand is a little bit further south, but it's pretty close to our international date line over here. Okay, so New Zealand is two chunks kind of right there. This is New Zealand. For the next part of the islands, I'm gonna choose my blue pen here because we're gonna go back and kind of outline the different regions here, but this will make it easier. So we are going to do there's 3 groups of island chains that we're gonna kind of work with right here. And so the first one we're gonna do is this group of islands known as Melanesia. Melanesia is going to kind of cut in between the island of Papua New Guinea and Australia. It's going to go about right there. It's going to come down towards New Zealand, but not quite all the way there. And then it's going to cut across here, come up, and then cut back across the international date line over Papua New Guinea, and then straight down, okay? Now, in this island chain are islands like Fiji. Fiji's right here. You don't have to necessarily label that, but those are some well-known islands that are within Melanesia, and lots of other groups too. If you have an atlas from my class, you could turn to page 101, and you'll see that there are a lot of different islands right in the middle, right there. So all of that is known as Melanesia. Oh, I guess we should label that. Oops, I'm going to do it in blue. Melanesia. Okay. I'm going to zoom out because we're going to get kind of big here. Okay. So Melanesia is right there. The next thing that we can do is Micronesia. So Micronesia is going to come off of this straight line that we just drew, almost even to Taiwan there, okay? And then it's going to come back towards the international date line and kind of dip down. It's not going to ever quite touch the international date line, okay? But this is known as Micronesia. And a well-known island in there is the Mariana Islands that are kind of dotted in there, about right there. And then the last group of islands that we're going to do is called Polynesia. Polynesia comes down from Melanesia and includes New Zealand, and then it's going to get really big here, okay? It's going to cut all the way across to the 120, past 120 over there, and then I'm going to go up to the top and hook it from Micronesia. So Micronesia is going to come up from Micronesia and then loop all the way down, okay? So all of this is called Polynesia, and Hawaii is included in that. Other islands like Tahiti is out here in the middle of nowhere. This is Tahiti right there. Yeah, so big island chains, lots of islands out here in the Pacific, but you do need to know that these island chains, okay? And then the last thing we need to do, we need to include is Antarctica. And so we're just going to draw Antarctica all along the bottom here. Okay, this is Antarctica. This is not a real country because while some people do live there temporarily, it does not have its own government. So lots of different countries have like research facilities and stuff in Antarctica, but it does not govern itself. There's not a permanent population in Antarctica. Okay, so those are all of our countries. So let's go back and grab a few colors. We're just going to outline the countries that we have done. So I'm going to put this in my highlighter right here. So we just did the island countries, or the island chains. So I'm going to go back and kind of highlight our Oceania countries. So we talked about Antarctica. New Zealand is included in this. Australia. Australia here. That is not very straight. Let me make this bigger. Sorry. Let me get this right here. There we go. All right, so all of this was considered Oceania. So I'm going to go label this, and let's do our labels in the bottom right-hand corner because there's not a whole lot of stuff over there. So blue was Oceania. We're going to do green for Southeast Asia. And Southeast Asia included this big chunk right here. Papua New Guinea and Indonesia are all of these islands. Philippines. Okay. Melanesia is included. Singapore, Myanmar, all of these countries in here. So Laos, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, all of those countries are Southeast Asia. So I'm going to come label that over here again. Southeast Asia. We're going to do red for East Asia. East Asia included China, China's really big. North and South Korea. We'll include Russia a little bit up there, but it's going to include Mongolia, Japan, and Taiwan. Don't forget North and South Korea. Okay, so this was all East Asia. And then we're going to do purple for North America. Okay, so North America is purple. And this is just so you know the different regions that we are working with here, okay? Because these are all different parts of the world. So you need to know these regions. Hawaii is included in here. All right, so that is North America. The next thing we're going to do is label some important cities here. Okay, I'm going to do it in gray. You can do it in your pencil, or you can grab a black, whatever makes sense to you. But we need to label some really important cities that are on our big map here. Okay, so we'll start in North America, where we probably know where several important cities are here, right? Let's do our capital. Washington, D.C. is about right there. So I'm just going to put D.C. We also have New York City is up there, NYC. Miami is on the East Coast, and Florida, MIAMI. We have Chicago. It's in the middle right there on that Great Lake. Chicago. And we have LA over here in California. LA. All right. So those are big cities here in the U.S. There are, oh wait, I forgot about one too. We are also going to put Anchorage over here in Alaska. That is the capital of Alaska, Anchorage. Okay. All right, now we'll move on to Canada. So Canada, we have just a few important cities. On the west coast over here, we have Vancouver. And then over on the east coast, we have Toronto. That's really close to the U.S. And we have Quebec. This is Quebec. Quebec. Okay, so those are our big cities over here in North America. Now we're going to label some important cities that are in Asia. In Asia, we're going to do Tokyo, that's in Japan. It's about right there on the coast, Tokyo. We have Seoul, Seoul, the capital of South Korea. We'll do 2 in China. The northern one, about right there, is going to be Shanghai, Shang, how do I spell that? Hai, Shanghai. And then the southern one is Hong Kong. All right, let's do Southeast Asia. In Southeast Asia, we have Bangkok, that is in Thailand. You've probably heard of that before. Bangkok. We have in the Philippines, we have Manila, the capital, is that right? Yeah, that's how you spell it, Manila. And then the capital of Indonesia is on this island, and it's called Jakarta, Jakarta, Jakarta. That's an R, not a V, Jakarta. And then we'll label Sydney in Australia. It's about right there. Sydney, Australia. Okay, that is it for our cities. Now we'll do some mountains. Mountains. The mountains are going to be brown. All right, we'll start in the U.S. We have 2 that are easy to know over here in the U.S. We have the Appalachian Mountains, which are along our east coast over here. Goes pretty far up into Maine over there. This is the Appalachian, Appalachian, Appalachian. And then over here we have the Rockies. The Rockies go through Colorado and a little bit down into New Mexico there. These are the Rockies, the Rocky Mountains. Okay? That's it for North America. We're going to come over here to China now. And in Asia, we have quite a few over here. So on the border between Mongolia and China, we have the Altai mountain range. It is about right here, Altai, right here on the border. Okay, Altai. Also over on the western side of China, the Tian Shan, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's over here. So highlands over here on the western side of China. We also have the Kunlun, Kunlun mountains over here. And then obviously you know that these big mountains right here along this border is going to be the Himalayas, which is what we have already labeled in our other sketch map. Okay, so Himalayas are right there. We have one mountain peak that we need to label in purple, and that is in Japan. Mount Fuji in Japan. It's right there. Mount Fuji. Okay, so we'll put our mountain peak over here too. Next, we have a plateau. We're going to label that in orange. Plateau. We just have one, and it's going to be over here in China, in between the Kunlun and the Himalayas. This is the Plateau of Tibet. Plateau of Tibet. I'm gonna shade it right there so you can see that this is all a plateau, obviously, in between the two mountain ranges. And that's the only one that we have there. Let's see. Next thing we're gonna do is deserts. Our deserts we'll do in yellow. So I'm going to add it to my key over here. Deserts. Again, staying in Asia and on the western side here, we have a few. We need to do the Gobi Desert. The Gobi Desert is in between Mongolia and China. Gobi. Desert, about right there. The next one is the Taklamakan Desert. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's about right here. Taklamakan. That's a big one over here in the western part of China. And then we have two in Australia. Okay. We have the Great Sandy Desert. Really creative on the name. And the Great Victorian in the southern part. All right, those are our deserts. Next, we have our plains regions. We just have two of these, the plains. In North America, we have the Great Plains here in the middle of the U.S., Great Plains. We will highlight that. All here in the middle, the Great Plains. And then over in China, we have the North China Plain. That is up here, North China Plains. And then the last thing we'll do is that we will label our water regions. I'm going to do it in bright blue. Okay, add that to our key over here. Okay, so with our water regions, we have a lot of things to label here. We will start with our big oceans. Okay, so with our big oceans, we have the Pacific Ocean, obviously, which is where we're working. Pacific Ocean. That's all of this stuff in the middle here that we've been talking about the whole time. We also have the Indian Ocean, which is over here. All right. Next, let's do some seas. Our seas, we need to do let's do the Bering Sea. The Bering Sea is up at the very northern part of our map here. So the Bering Sea, B-E-R-I-N-G, the Bering Sea connects, or it's going to touch both Russia and Alaska. The Bering Strait is that strip of water that will go right in between Russia and Alaska. But that's out of the Bering Sea. We need to do, since we're over here, we need to do the Sea of Japan between South Korea and Japan. And then the Yellow Sea is on the other side. Okay. The South China Sea is down here by the Philippines and Taiwan. South China Sea. We also have the Tasman Sea down here in between Australia and New Zealand. Tasman, T-A-S-M-A-N. Let's see, and then we'll do the Caribbean Sea over here by Texas. Okay. Now we need to label some lakes and bays. We have this big dip that you drew up here in Canada is the Hudson Bay. And then we need to label our Great Lakes. This might be a little bit tricky on your map depending on how you drew Michigan, the one that kind of is in the middle of all of the Great Lakes. But there are quite a few. There are 5 Great Lakes that we need to label. So the first one kind of comes up right there. This one is Lake Superior. The one that Chicago touches is Lake Michigan. I'm going to zoom in. This is Lake Michigan. Oop. And then Lake Hudson is the next one that kind of is on the top of Michigan, kind of. That is Hudson. And then we have Lake Erie. Let's come back out. This is Lake Erie, right there. And then Lake Ontario is right there. So those are the 5 Great Lakes. Then we'll do our rivers. While we're up here, the St. Lawrence River connects in here from Canada down to like New York. So this is the St. Lawrence River. Okay. And then the 2 other rivers that we will do over here is the Mississippi River, obviously, that comes all the way down. This is the Mississippi, Mississippi, the Mississippi River. And then the Rio Grande, which is obviously Texas, and goes up into New Mexico. So this is the Rio Grande. Okay, so that's it over here for the US and Canada. And then we'll go label all of our rivers over here in Asia. The first one that we have is the Yellow River in China. There's 3 here in China that we're going to label. We have the Yellow River that empties out into the Yellow Sea, so that's easy to remember. And it's going to go all the way to the inner part here. This is the Yellow River. Then we have the Yangtze River. That goes about right there, all the way into the middle. Yangtze. The next one we have to do is the Mekong River. It is going to start up in China and go down along the border between Laos and Thailand, cut through Cambodia and out through Vietnam. This is the Mekong River. Okay, and then we just have 2 in Australia, and they kind of split out from each other. It's gonna start over here, it's gonna go north, and then one, it's gonna go south. The northern one is called the Darling River. And the southern one is called the Murray River, Murray River. And I believe that's it. So there is our Pacific Rim sketch map.